The plasma bolt missed Lucy's head by inches, scorching the metal wall behind her. She didn't flinch. The 9-year-old girl stood in the cargo bay of the merchant vessel Starlight Runner, staring up at the 7-foot alien that had just tried to kill her. Captain Vexthor, the most feared pirate in the Andromeda sector, lowered his weapon slightly. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of confusion among his species. In 30 years of raiding human ships, no one had ever simply stood still when he fired a warning shot. They screamed, they ran, they begged. This small human did none of those things. "You missed," Lucy said flatly. Vexthor's crew, a collection of the galaxy's most dangerous criminals, froze mid-looting. The Zarkonian beside the medical supplies actually dropped the container he was holding. No one spoke to their captain this way. No one survived speaking to their captain this way. Little human. Vexthor clicked through his translator, his voice like grinding metal. "You should be hiding with the others. I could vaporize you. But you won't," Lucy replied. She took a step forward, and several pirates actually stepped back. "You're curious why I'm not afraid." This was true, and it disturbed Vexthor more than he cared to admit. He had built his reputation on fear. Entire space stations paid tribute to avoid his raids. Naval commanders resigned rather than face him in battle. Yet this child, barely tall enough to reach his lowest set of arms, stood before him with the calm of a seasoned warrior. "Your parents are cowering in the passenger deck," Vexthor said, trying to regain control of the situation. "Perhaps I should—" "My parents died 3 months ago," Lucy interrupted. "Transport accident near Jupiter. I'm being sent to live with my uncle on Proxima Station. So threatening them won't work." The cargo bay had gone completely silent. Even the ship's emergency alarms seemed to have stopped blaring out of respect for this bizarre standoff. Vexthor leaned down, bringing his fanged face close to Lucy's. His breath smelled like sulfur and old blood. "Then what do you want, small human? To die bravely? To be remembered?" "I want to make a deal," Lucy said. She reached into her pocket, and a dozen weapons immediately trained on her. She slowly pulled out a data chip. "This contains the shipping routes for every military convoy in this sector for the next 6 months. Codes, schedules, cargo manifests. Everything." Now she had Vexthor's full attention. "Where did you get this?" "My dad was a logistics officer. I copied it before they shipped me off." She held it up. "You let everyone on this ship go unharmed, and it's yours." Vexthor studied her. "And if I just take it? Then you get nothing," Lucy said. "It's encrypted with a biometric lock. My fingerprint opens it. My pulse dying destroys it. So we deal, or we both lose." For the first time in 3 decades, Captain Vexthor laughed. Part 2 began 3 days later aboard Vexthor's flagship, the Ravager's Claw. Lucy sat in what used to be the captain's secondary command chamber, now converted into makeshift quarters for his unexpected guest. The data chip had been legitimate, every bite of it, which surprised Vexthor almost as much as the child herself. He had kept his end of the bargain and released the merchant vessel unharmed, a decision that had sparked considerable debate among his crew. "The captain's gone soft," she heard one of the Draxian warriors muttering outside her door. "Taking in human strays now. Next he'll be running a charity." Lucy smiled to herself. They didn't understand yet. She had spent the last 3 days studying every aspect of the ship she could access, learning its rhythms, its crew, its weaknesses. The Ravager's Claw was impressive, a stolen Corvathy dreadnought retrofitted with weapons from a dozen different species, but it was also held together with improvisation and luck. The door slid open and Vexthor entered, ducking to fit his massive frame through the doorway. "You've been accessing the ship's educational database," he said. It wasn't a question. Learning Galactic Standard plus the basics of 12 other languages. Lucy confirmed. Also, stellar navigation, weapon systems, and ancient Earth military strategy. Your database is pretty comprehensive. It belonged to a Corvathi admiral, Vexthor said, before I killed him and took his ship. He settled into a reinforced chair that groaned under his weight. Why are you really here, Lucy Chen? Children don't bribe pirates with military secrets just to save a few dozen passengers they don't know. Lucy met his gaze with her own steady one. Because I needed to get off that ship and onto this one. Why? Because my uncle on Proxima Station doesn't exist. There's no one waiting for me. No relatives, no guardians, no home. She stood up, walking to the viewport that showed the endless expanse of space. After my parents died, the authorities were going to put me in a government facility, lock me away until I was 18 because I wouldn't stop asking questions about how their transport really died. Vexthor's eyes narrowed. You believe it wasn't an accident. I know it wasn't. My dad stumbled onto something big, something involving high-ranking Earth Alliance officers and illegal weapon sales to the Krill Dominion. He told me about it the day before his ship exploded. She turned back to face the pirate captain. So I stole his data, faked transfer papers, and waited for the right opportunity. That opportunity being my raid. Exactly. No one in the galaxy would think to look for a missing human child on a pirate ship, and no one would believe a child could get here on purpose. Lucy walked closer to Vexthor. I've been thinking about what you said on the merchant ship, about your reputation, about fear. You've spent 30 years making people afraid of you. But fear only works until someone isn't afraid anymore. Careful, small human. I'm not threatening you. I'm offering you something better than fear. Lucy pulled up a holographic display from her wrist device, showing star charts and trade routes. You're running a successful piracy operation, but it's limited. You hit soft targets, avoid military convoys unless you have inside information, and you're constantly moving to stay ahead of the law. You're surviving, not thriving. Vexthor was impressed, despite himself. The child had analyzed his entire operation in 3 days. And you have a solution? Information is power. You proved that by jumping on the data I gave you. But you're thinking too small. Lucy expanded the display, showing dozens of sectors. There are 16 major crime syndicates operating in this region. They spend more time fighting each other than fighting the Alliance. Whoever could unite them, or at least coordinate them, would control half the galaxy's black market. They would never follow me. A pirate captain, even a famous one, is still just a pirate. They wouldn't follow you, Lucy agreed, but they might follow someone who offered them what they really want. Not a leader, but a neutral broker. Someone who could provide information, coordinate opportunities, and ensure everyone gets their fair share without the constant warfare. And this someone would be? A partnership. Your reputation and resources, my strategic mind and unique perspective. She pulled up another display, this one showing a failed Alliance military operation from 2 years ago. Adults in the galaxy think in predictable patterns. Military officers follow doctrine, criminals follow profit, politicians follow power. But I think differently. I see the patterns they miss because I'm not trapped in their systems yet. Vexthor stood, towering over her. You're asking me to trust a 9-year-old human child with my life's work? No. I'm asking you to accept a partner who just gave you 6 months of military intelligence and has already identified 3 critical weaknesses in your ship's security that your own crew missed. She gestured to specific points in the ship's schematic. The starboard power coupling is overloading. Your medical supplies are contaminated with Draxian fungus, and someone in your crew is sending encrypted messages to the Corvathi remnant, probably the engineer named Grix. Vexthor's face went through several expressions before settling on something that might have been respect. He activated his comm device. Security team to engineering. Detain Grex and search his quarters. He looked back at Lucy. The coupling and the supplies? I left detailed reports in your personal database this morning. You really should check your messages more often. The pirate captain laughed again, that same genuine sound from 3 days ago. You're either the bravest human I've ever met, or the most foolish. Can I be both? Lucy smiled for the first time since boarding his ship. So, do we have a deal, Captain? Or should I start planning my own piracy career from scratch? Vexthor extended one of his massive hands. We have a deal, partner, but if you betray me, you'll kill me. I know. Same goes for you. Lucy shook his hand, her small fingers barely wrapping around one of his claws. Now, let's talk about your next target. I have some ideas. The crew of the Ravager's Claw would later mark this as the moment everything changed. The moment their captain took on the strangest first mate in pirate history. The moment a fearless human child began reshaping the criminal underworld. But they didn't know yet that this was just the beginning of something that would transform not just piracy, but the entire balance of power in the galaxy. Lucy had plans. Big plans. And now she had the means to execute them. 6 weeks into their partnership, Lucy stood on the bridge of the Ravager's Claw, watching 3 rival pirate ships converge on their position. Most of the crew assumed they were about to die. Lucy knew better. Steady, she said calmly, though she had to stand on a raised platform just to see over the command console. Let them get into formation. Beside her, Vexthor fought every instinct telling him to open fire or run. Trusting a human child in combat went against everything he had learned in 3 decades of survival. But that same child had tripled their profit margins in 6 weeks and exposed 2 more traitors in his crew. She had earned this chance. 2 minutes until they're in weapons range, his tactical officer announced, mandibles clicking nervously. Excellent, Lucy said. Open a channel to all 3 ships. The view screen split to show 3 different pirate captains. Captain Soren of the Void Reapers, a Zarkonian known for his brutality. Captain Nash of the Star Scourge, a former Alliance officer turned criminal. And Captain Yuria of the Crimson Fang, a Valkorian whose species could breathe in space and saw humans as little more than food. All 3 looked ready to tear the Ravager's Claw apart. Vexthor, Soren growled. You've been operating in our territory, stealing our targets. That ends today. Actually, Lucy said, stepping into view of the camera, it begins today. The 3 captains stared at her. Nash spoke first. Vex, is that a human child? Have you lost your mind? Probably, Vexthor admitted, but hear her out. I did, and I haven't regretted it. Lucy pulled up a holographic display visible to all 3 ships. In the last month, the 3 of you have lost a combined 12 ships, 47 crew members, and approximately 8 million credits in seized cargo to Alliance forces. Meanwhile, Captain Voxthor has lost nothing and gained everything. Want to know why? Luck, Yuria hissed. Information, Lucy corrected. We know where the Alliance patrol routes are. We know which cargo ships have real guards versus dummy escorts. We know when shift changes happen at border stations and which customs officials take bribes. She pulled up detailed charts showing each of their recent losses. You're all flying blind, reacting to opportunities instead of creating them. That's why you're losing. And you can provide this information? Nash asked skeptically. I already am. Check your secure servers. Each of you just received a data packet with tomorrow's military deployments in your sectors. Verify it, then we'll talk business. The 3 captains disappeared briefly, presumably checking the information. When they returned, their expressions had changed from hostile to intrigued. This is legitimate, Soren said slowly. How did you get it? That's proprietary information, Lucy replied. What matters is I can keep getting it, for all of you. But I'm not running a charity. What do you want? Yuria demanded. A syndicate. Not a merger. Nothing that threatens your independence. Think of it as a criminal information exchange. You each pay a membership fee, you get access to intelligence, coordinated opportunities, and dispute resolution. No more wasting resources fighting each other when you could be taking from the Alliance. And who runs this syndicate? Nash asked. You? Captain Vexthor serves as the neutral broker. I handle analysis and coordination. You maintain complete autonomy over your operations. But here's the critical part. This only works if everyone participates honestly. Betray the syndicate, and you're cut off from information and marked as hostile by everyone else. The three captains looked at each other. They were rivals, but they weren't stupid. The child was right. They had been losing badly to the Alliance lately. Why should we trust you? Soren finally asked. Because I just gave you valuable intelligence for free, and because your other option is to keep doing what you're doing, which is failing. Lucy smiled. Also, if you attack us now, you'll find that I've already calculated your most likely attack vectors and positioned countermeasures. Check your tactical displays. All three ships suddenly registered multiple weapons locks they hadn't detected before. Hidden mines, drone fighters, even a cloaked ally ship that Lucy had positioned hours ago. That was a convincing demonstration, Nash said dryly. What's the membership fee? 10% of gross profits from operations where our intelligence was used. Verified by independent audit. Plus a one-time entry fee of 500,000 credits. Robbery, Iria complained. Business, Lucy corrected. And it's non-negotiable. The network only works if everyone has skin in the game. Otherwise, there's no incentive for honesty. The three captains conferred privately. Then Soren spoke for all of them. We need time to consider this. 2 days. You have 6 hours, Lucy said. After that, I'm offering the same deal to Captains Drake, Helion, and the Phantom Collective. If they accept first, you're on the outside of the most powerful information network in this sector. Your choice. She closed the channel before they could respond. The bridge crew stared at her in stunned silence. You're bluffing, Vexthor said quietly. We don't have contacts with Drake or Helion yet. Not yet, Lucy agreed. But they don't know that. And now our three friends out there are racing against a deadline. They'll accept within 3 hours. She was right. 2 hours and 17 minutes later, all three captains agreed to join. By the end of the week, 4 more pirate crews had signed on. By the end of the month, the Syndicate, as it came to be called, controlled nearly 40% of criminal activity in the sector. But Lucy wasn't satisfied. She stood in her expanded quarters, which now included a strategic planning center with displays showing half the galaxy. Vexthor found her there at 3 a.m. ship time, surrounded by floating holographic projections. You should sleep, he said. Even human children need rest. I'll sleep when I'm done, Lucy replied, manipulating data streams with practiced ease. I'm tracking something. A pattern in Alliance military deployments that doesn't make sense. What kind of pattern? They're moving ships toward the Outer Rim. Not patrol ships, but heavy battle cruisers and carrier groups. It's not a normal deployment schedule. She pulled up fleet movements from the last 3 months. Look at this. They're creating a perimeter around something. Vexthor studied the data with his experienced tactical eye. That's a blockade formation. They're containing something, or preparing to. But what? There's nothing out there except old mining colonies and the Krill border. Lucy zoomed in on the area. Unless... Her eyes widened as the pieces fell into place, the weapon sales her father had discovered. The Krill Dominion, the Alliance fleet movements. It all connected. They're going to start a war, she whispered. Explain. Lucy pulled up classified documents she had been slowly piecing together from various sources. My father found evidence that Alliance officers were selling weapons to the Krail. Not small arms, but ship-grade weaponry. Classified tech. I thought it was just corruption, but what if it was intentional? What if someone in the Alliance wants a war? Why would they want that? Money, power, control. Lucy's mind raced through possibilities. Wars are profitable for military contractors. They give governments emergency powers. And a war with the Krill would justify a massive military buildup that could be used to crush any opposition, including organized crime. Including us. Exactly. The Syndicate is becoming powerful enough to be a threat. If the Alliance can start a war with the Krail, they can declare martial law across half the galaxy. Our information networks would be useless against emergency powers. They'd hunt us down systematically. Vexthor sat heavily in a reinforced chair. We need proof. We need more than proof. We need to stop it. Lucy began pulling up more data. If the Alliance provokes the Krill into attacking, millions will die. And everyone will support the war because they think the Krill struck first. So we expose the conspiracy. Who would believe us? We're criminals. Pirates. The most wanted individuals in known space. Lucy shook her head. No, we need something different. We need to remove the justification for war before it starts. How? Lucy was quiet for a long moment, staring at the star charts. Then she turned to Vexthor with an expression that was far too calculating for a 9-year-old face. We're going to steal the weapons before the Krill can use them, she said. And then we're going to return them to the Alliance publicly, exposing the conspiracy without anyone being able to dismiss us as criminals with an agenda. That's insane. Those weapons are in Krill territory, surrounded by their fleet. It would take a miracle to get in and out alive. Good thing I don't believe in miracles, Lucy said. I believe in planning. And I have a plan. A crazy, dangerous, probably going to get us killed plan. But it might work. Vexthor looked at the small human who had become his partner, his strategic advisor, and somehow his friend. Tell me this plan. Lucy smiled. First, we're going to need a bigger syndicate. The Syndicate Council met for the first time on a neutral station called Haven's End, a decommissioned mining platform floating in unclaimed space. 15 pirate captains gathered, representing the most powerful criminal organizations in 4 sectors. They came armed, suspicious, and ready for betrayal. Lucy counted on it. She walked into the conference chamber ahead of Vexthor, her small frame drawing confused looks from captains who had heard of the child strategist but never seen her. Some laughed. That laughter died quickly when she activated the central display. Thank you for coming, Lucy began, her voice clear despite the hostile audience. I'll be brief. In 3 weeks, the Earth Alliance is going to start a war with the Krill Dominion. This war will kill millions, possibly billions. It will also destroy every criminal organization in this room. Bold claims from a child, Captain Drake said. He was human, former military, and despised traitors above all else. Why should we care about alliance politics? Because the war is a lie designed to give them emergency powers to eliminate us. Lucy pulled up the evidence she had compiled. Fleet movements, weapon sales records, communications she had intercepted. The Alliance has been supplying the Krail with advanced weaponry, then planning to provoke them into using it. When the Krail attack, the Alliance declares martial law, mobilizes every ship they have, and crushes both the Krail and any organized crime while everyone's distracted by the war. The room erupted in arguing voices. Lucy let them talk for exactly 90 seconds before triggering an audio override that silenced every speaker except hers. I don't need you to believe me. I need you to understand the stakes. If I'm wrong, you've wasted one meeting. If I'm right, and you do nothing, you're all dead within 6 months. She looked at each captain in turn. Now, who wants to hear how we stop it? Captain Helion, a Valkorian with scars covering half her face, leaned forward. I'm listening. We infiltrate Kryl space, steal the weapons they've been stockpiling, and return them to the Alliance in a way that exposes the conspiracy publicly. No war, no martial law, and the corrupt officers get exposed. Impossible, Nash said flatly. The Krill would detect any ship entering their territory. They'd destroy it before it got within a light year of those weapons. Any large ship, yes, Lucy agreed. But the Krill have a blind spot. They don't consider small craft threats. Trading vessels, personal shuttles, anything under a certain size barely registers on their scans. She pulled up Kryl defensive protocols she had obtained through careful intelligence work. We use small ships, disguised as various civilian craft, to enter from multiple vectors. By the time they realize what's happening, we're already at the target. And getting out? Yuria asked. That's the hard part, Lucy admitted. We'll need a distraction, a big one, something that draws their fleet away from the storage facility long enough for us to load the weapons and escape. What kind of distraction? Lucy smiled. A pirate raid. The biggest, boldest, most aggressive pirate raid in history. We hit 3 Krill military outposts simultaneously on the opposite side of their territory. They'll have no choice but to respond with everything they have. The room went silent. Then Drake started laughing. You want us to attack the Krill Dominion? To start a war to prevent a war? That's either genius or madness. It's both, Vexthor said, speaking for the first time. Which is why it might actually work. The Kryl expect the Alliance to be their enemy. They're not watching for pirates. We hit fast, we hit hard, and we disappear before they can organize a response. Some of us will die, Helion said quietly. Yes, Lucy didn't lie. This operation will cost lives. Ships will be lost. But if we do nothing, all of us die anyway. At least this way we're fighting for something that matters. The captains looked at each other. These were not good people. They had killed, stolen, and terrorized their way across the galaxy. But they were survivors, and they recognized truth when they heard it. How do we split the weapons once we have them? Soren asked. We don't keep them, Lucy said firmly. This isn't about profit. We return them to the Alliance publicly, through a neutral third party that can't be dismissed as criminal propaganda. The Corvithi Council, maybe, or the Merchant Guild Alliance. Someone respectable who can verify what happened. Then what do we gain? Survival. The continuation of our operations without martial law. And something more valuable than weapons. Lucy pulled up financial projections. When we expose this conspiracy, there will be chaos in the Alliance. Officers arrested, supply chains disrupted, military budgets questioned. In that chaos, we expand. We triple our territory while they're distracted with internal investigations. Now she had their attention. Pirates understood profit. I want operational details, Drake said. Ship assignments, timelines, contingencies. You'll have them within 24 hours, Lucy promised. But I need commitment now. This only works if everyone participates. Half measures get us all killed. One by one, the captains agreed. Some enthusiastically, others reluctantly, but they all agreed. Lucy had united 15 pirate crews for something unprecedented, not personal gain, but survival through cooperation. As the meeting ended and captains returned to their ships, Vexthor approached Lucy. You manipulated them perfectly. You gave them fear, then hope, then profit. They never stood a chance. I learned from the best, Lucy said. You've been manipulating people through fear for 30 years, but you do it through understanding. You see what people need and give it to them. Vex Thor paused. Your parents would be proud. Lucy's expression faltered for just a moment, the first time Vexter had seen genuine emotion crack through her strategic mask. My parents would be horrified that their daughter became a pirate. Your parents would be amazed that their daughter became a leader who saves lives by working with pirates, Vexthor corrected gently. There's a difference. Lucy nodded slowly, then squared her shoulders. We have 3 weeks to plan the most dangerous operation in criminal history. We should get started. Yes, we should, Vexthor agreed. Partner. They left Haven's End together, a feared pirate captain and a 9-year-old human child preparing to change the fate of the galaxy. Behind them, 15 pirate fleets began moving into position. The largest criminal alliance in history was about to attempt the impossible. And across the galaxy, in secure alliance military facilities, officers who had planned for war had no idea that a fearless child had just declared war on their conspiracy. The clock was ticking. 3 weeks until everything changed, one way or another. 18 days later, Lucy floated in the command center of a modified cargo hauler called the Whisper, watching sensor readings from inside Krill territory. Around her, the crew worked in tense silence. They were 2 hours into enemy space and still undetected. So far, her plan was working. Distance to target? She asked quietly. 12,000 kilometers, the navigator replied. He was a young Zarkonian named Kev, one of the few crew members who didn't flinch when she gave orders. We should be in visual range in 4 minutes. Through the viewport, Lucy could see the other small ships in their formation. 20 vessels total, each disguised as various civilian craft. Merchants, couriers, even a medical transport. The Krill sensors read them as routine traffic that had accidentally strayed into restricted space. Not threats. Not yet. Communications check, Lucy ordered. All ships report status. One by one, the ships confirmed readiness. 20 crews, over 300 pirates, all relying on a 9-year-old strategy. The weight of it pressed on Lucy's chest, but she didn't let it show. Target facility coming into scanner range now, Kev announced. The weapon storage station appeared on their displays. It was massive, a converted asteroid fortress bristling with defensive cannons and shield generators. Dozens of Kryl patrol ships orbited it in tight formations. Lucy studied the defenses, comparing them to the intelligence she had gathered. Something's wrong, she muttered. Vexthor, monitoring from the Ravager's Claw 3 systems away, spoke through her earpiece. What is it? Too many ships. Intelligence said there would be 12 patrol vessels. I'm counting 30. Lucy's mind raced through possibilities. Either our information was wrong or they increased security recently. Can we still proceed? Lucy pulled up tactical simulations she had prepared for various scenarios. With 30 patrol ships instead of 12, their window for loading the weapons shrank from 20 minutes to maybe 8. It would be close. Very close. We proceed, she decided. But we accelerate the timeline. All ships move to attack positions now. We don't have time for the careful approach. The 20 ships broke formation, each heading to predetermined entry points around the station. Lucy's ship, the Whisper, would dock at the main cargo bay, the riskiest position, but also the fastest access to the weapons vault. 2 minutes to docking, Kev said. His voice had steadied. Lucy appreciated that about him. He didn't panic. Signal from the station, the communications officer announced. They're demanding identification codes. Send them code 7, Lucy instructed. Code 7 was a merchant identification she had stolen from actual Krill records. It would hold up under basic scrutiny for maybe 90 seconds. The station's response came back quickly. Too quickly. They're rejecting the codes. They know we're fake. All ships, go loud, Lucy commanded into the fleet channel. Defensive protocol, Delta. Engage on my mark. The carefully planned stealth approach evaporated in an instant. The 20 civilian ships suddenly deployed weapons, dropped their camouflage, and opened fire on the patrol vessels. Simultaneously, 3 systems away, the distraction force led by Vexthor attacked the Krill military outposts. Chaos erupted across Krill space. Alarms blared, ships scrambled, and for a few precious seconds, no one was quite sure what was happening. Lucy used those seconds. Ramming speed, she ordered. Take us through the cargo bay doors. But they're closed, Cap protested. Not for long. Fire missiles full spread. The Whisper's forward launchers sent a barrage of explosives into the cargo bay doors. The reinforced metal buckled, but didn't break. Lucy counted 3 seconds, then ordered another volley. This time the doors crumpled inward, creating a ragged opening large enough for the ship to squeeze through. Go, 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 Lucy shouted as Kev piloted them through the gap. Metal screamed against metal. Warning lights flashed, but they made it inside. The Whisper crashed into the cargo bay with enough force to throw everyone against their restraints. Lucy was up and moving before the ship stopped sliding. Boarding teams deploy. We have 5 minutes maximum before this place is crawling with Krill soldiers. She led the charge down the ramp, wearing a spacesuit modified for her small frame. Behind her, 24 pirates followed, carrying heavy equipment for breaking into the weapons vault. The cargo bay was cavernous, designed for massive freighters. Their small ship looked like a toy inside it. Vault entrance should be through that bulkhead, Lucy said, checking her scanner. Plant the charges. The demolition expert, a Draxian named Zell, began placing explosive packs around a reinforced door. This is military-grade hardened steel. It's going to take everything we have. Then use everything we have. We're not leaving empty-handed. While Zell worked, Lucy monitored the battle outside through her ship's sensors. The pirate fleet was holding their own against the patrol ships, but reinforcements were arriving. Fast. Lucy, this is Vexthor. Her earpiece crackled. Our distraction is working. The Kryl are pulling ships from all over the sector to respond to our attacks. But you need to hurry. We can't hold these positions much longer. Understood. 2 more minutes. Charges set, Zell announced. Everyone back. The explosion shook the entire cargo bay. When the smoke cleared, the vault door had a gaping hole in it. Lucy ran through first, her light cutting through the darkness. What she found made her stop cold. The vault was empty. Not just mostly empty, but completely empty. Where there should have been crates of advanced weapons, there was nothing but bare metal walls and anchor points where cargo had once been secured. They moved them, Lucy whispered. Then louder, they moved the weapons. This is a trap. As if on cue, the cargo bay's outer doors began opening, revealing a Krill battlecruiser positioning itself to fire directly into the bay. Lucy's fleet outside was screaming warnings, reporting more enemy ships arriving every second. All teams abort mission, Lucy commanded. Return to ships immediately. This entire operation is compromised. But as her crew ran back to the Whisper, Lucy stood in the empty vault, her mind working through the implications. The Kryl had known they were coming. They had prepared. Which meant someone had warned them. Someone in the Syndicate was a traitor. Lucy, move, Kev shouted from the ship's ramp. We have to go now. She ran. The Whisper lifted off even as Krill soldiers poured into the cargo bay, their weapons fire sparking off the ship's shields. Other pirate vessels were already fleeing, several trailing atmosphere and debris from damage. Take us out the way we came in, Lucy ordered. Maximum speed. The whisper shot through the destroyed cargo bay doors back into space. Lucy watched on sensors as 3 of their ships didn't make it, cut apart by Krell weapons fire, over 40 pirates dead in seconds. Set course for the rendezvous point, she said quietly, and get me Vexthor on a secure channel. When the pirate captain's face appeared on her screen, she saw her own failure reflected in his expression. He had pulled his forces back from the outposts, taking losses but surviving. It was a trap, she told him. The weapons are gone, and someone told the Krill we were coming. We have a traitor in the syndicate. Who? I don't know yet. But we're going to find out. Lucy pulled up data on her screen, beginning to analyze communication patterns and ship movements. Whoever it is just killed 40 of our people and destroyed our best chance to stop this war. They're going to pay for that. What's our next move? Lucy looked at the star charts, at the Alliance fleet positioning, at the conspiracy that was still unfolding despite their efforts. She was 9 years old, exhausted, responsible for dozens of deaths, and facing an enemy she couldn't see. Any reasonable person would quit. Lucy had never been reasonable. We adapt, she said. The weapons aren't at that facility, which means they're somewhere else. We find them, we steal them, and we expose this conspiracy. But first, we hunt down our traitor and make sure this never happens again. It's going to take time we don't have. Then we'll work faster. Lucy's voice hardened. Whoever betrayed us made a mistake. They assumed I would give up after one failure. They don't know me very well. She closed the channel and turned to her crew. They were battered, scared, and looking to her for answers. A human child who had promised them success and delivered catastrophe. But Lucy hadn't survived this long by hiding from her failures. We're not done, she told them. This was a setback, not defeat. We regroup, we find our traitor, and we finish this mission. Anyone who wants out can take a shuttle at the rendezvous point. No judgment. But I'm seeing this through to the end. No one asked for a shuttle. They had signed on with the fearless human child, and apparently failure hadn't changed their minds about her. Lucy allowed herself a small smile. Then she got back to work. There was a traitor to find, a conspiracy to expose, and a war to prevent. And she only had days to do all of it. The galaxy had underestimated her once. They wouldn't make that mistake again. Lucy spent 48 hours without sleep, analyzing every communication, every movement, every decision made by syndicate members in the weeks before the raid. Her quarters on the Ravager's Claw looked like a madhouse, with holographic displays covering every surface and data streaming through the air in ribbons of light. Vexthor found her there, still working. You need rest, he said. A dead strategist helps no one. I'm close, Lucy muttered, manipulating data with tired hands. The traitor left traces. They had to. You can't coordinate with the Kryl without leaving some kind of communication trail. Unless they did it before joining the syndicate. Lucy froze. That single sentence realigned everything in her mind. Before joining, she repeated slowly. What if the traitor was planted specifically to infiltrate us? What if someone knew I was forming the syndicate and sent an agent? That would require knowing about you weeks in advance. The Alliance knew about me. Lucy pulled up new searches, looking at different patterns now. When I stole my father's data, when I faked transfer papers, someone noticed. They had to. What if they've been watching me this whole time? She found it 10 minutes later. A communication burst sent from Captain Drake's ship, heavily encrypted, transmitted moments before the raid began. But it wasn't Drake's encryption signature. Someone on his ship had sent it using backdoor access to his systems. Drake has a traitor in his crew, Lucy announced, and I think I know who. His communications officer, a human named Paul Stevens. He joined Drake's crew 3 weeks after I formed the Syndicate, right when the Alliance would have realized we were becoming a real threat. How do we confirm it? We don't have time to confirm. We have to act. Lucy pulled up star charts showing Alliance fleet movements. The war starts in 5 days. If we're wrong about Stevens, we lose nothing. If we're right and do nothing, we lose everything. Vexthor studied her for a long moment. What's the plan? We grab Stevens, we make him talk, and we find out where the weapons really are. Then we steal them anyway, but this time without a welcoming committee. Drake won't give up his crew member without proof. Then we don't ask. Lucy smiled grimly. We're pirates, remember? We'll steal him too. 3 hours later, Lucy led a boarding team onto Drake's ship while it was docked at a refueling station. Drake himself was off-ship, meeting with suppliers, giving them a narrow window. They moved fast and quiet, stunning guards and locking down corridors as they went. Paul Stevens was in his quarters when they breached the door. He reached for a weapon, but Keb stunned him before he could fire. Lucy walked up to the unconscious traitor and felt nothing but cold satisfaction. Take him to the Ravager's Claw, she ordered, and erase all evidence we were here. I want Drake to think Stevens just disappeared. They were back on Vexthor's ship within the hour. Stevens woke up in a secured interrogation room, facing a 9-year-old girl who looked at him like he was already dead. Your Alliance intelligence, Lucy said. It wasn't a question. Planted in Drake's crew to monitor the Syndicate. You've been reporting our activities for weeks. Stevens said nothing, but his eyes confirmed everything. The Krill raid was your big opportunity, Lucy continued. You warned them we were coming. Helped them prepare the trap. Did the Alliance promise you a promotion? Money, or did you just enjoy watching pirates die? Your children playing at crime. Stevens finally spoke. The Alliance is bringing order to the galaxy. Your little syndicate was always going to fall. Funny thing about that, Lucy said. The Alliance is about to start a war based on lies. They're going to sacrifice millions of lives for profit and power. But we're the criminals? She leaned closer. You're going to tell me where the weapons are now. The real location. Because if you don't, I'm going to space you, and no one will ever find your body. You won't kill me. You're right, Lucy agreed. I won't. But Captain Vexthor has killed hundreds of people over his career. He's very good at it, and right now he's extremely angry about the 40 pirates who died because of you. Vexthor stepped into the room, and Stevens went pale. The pirate captain's reputation was well earned, and every Alliance agent knew what happened to people who crossed him. Last chance, Lucy said. Where are the weapons? Stevens broke in less than a minute. Station Outreach 7. It's a classified Alliance facility in the neutral zone. That's where they moved the weapons after our intelligence indicated you were planning a raid. They're being staged there for delivery to the Krill next week. Delivery? Lucy's eyes widened. They're not just selling weapons. They're going to deliver them directly and frame it as a Krill theft. That way, there's no question about who to blame when the weapons are used. You can't stop it, Stevens said. The station has Alliance military protection. Your pirate fleet would be destroyed before you got close. Good thing we're not attacking it with a pirate fleet, Lucy said. She turned to Vexthor. Get the Syndicate Council on an emergency call. And find me everything we have on Station Outreach 7. We have 4 days to pull off the impossible. Again, Vexthor added with a slight smile, we have 4 days to pull off the impossible again. 3 days later, a lone medical transport ship approached Station Outreach 7. Its identification codes were perfect, its flight path routine, its manifest showing standard medical supplies for the station's crew. The Alliance guards never suspected anything. Lucy was aboard that transport along with Vexthor and a hand-picked team of 15. They docked without incident, passed through security using forged credentials, and walked straight into the heart of the station. The weapons vault was in the lower levels, guarded but not heavily. The Alliance hadn't expected anyone to find this location. Lucy planted explosive charges while her team loaded anti-grav sleds with crates of advanced weapons. They worked in silence, every second counting. 5 minutes, Vexthor warned. Security sweep coming this way. Almost done, Lucy replied, sealing the last crate. Everyone back to the ship. They made it to the transport with 90 seconds to spare. As they undocked and began moving away from the station, Lucy triggered the charges. The explosion destroyed the vault, but was carefully calibrated to avoid killing anyone. Alarms blared and the station went into lockdown, but the transport was already accelerating away. "They're launching pursuit ships," Kev reported from the pilot seat. "Let them come," Lucy said. "By the time they catch us, we'll have already broadcast everything to every major news network in the galaxy." And that's exactly what they did. As Alliance fighters closed in, Lucy transmitted the stolen weapons. Stevens's confession decrypted communications between corrupt Alliance officers, and the entire conspiracy to media outlets, government bodies, and civilian networks across known space. By the time the fighters forced them to surrender, the information had spread too far to contain. The galaxy exploded with the revelation. Alliance officers were arrested. The Krill Dominion, realizing they had nearly been manipulated into a catastrophic war, withdrew their forces and demanded answers. The planned conflict evaporated overnight. Lucy and her team were taken into custody, but the public outcry was immediate and overwhelming. A 9-year-old human child had stopped a war, exposed massive corruption, and saved millions of lives. Calls for her release came from every corner of the galaxy. 6 days after her arrest, Lucy walked out of the detention center a free person. All charges had been dropped, and several Alliance officials had personally apologized. Vexthor and the others were released with her, their criminal records mysteriously wiped clean in exchange for their service. The syndicate dissolved shortly after. Without the threat of war and martial law, the pirate captains returned to their independent operations. But they remembered what they had accomplished together, and Lucy suspected they always would. Lucy stood on the landing pad at Earth Station 1, watching ships come and go. Vexthor stood beside her, looking uncomfortable in civilized space. "What will you do now?" he asked. "You're famous?" "The fearless human child who saved the galaxy. You could do anything." "I'm going to finish growing up," Lucy said. "Go to school, learn more, figure out who I want to be when I'm not busy stopping wars." "And after that?" Lucy smiled up at the alien pirate who had become her unlikely friend. "After that? Maybe I'll join the Alliance and reform it from the inside. Or maybe I'll become the best-informed merchant in the galaxy. Or maybe I'll come find you and start a legitimate shipping business that happens to operate in interesting places. You're never going to be normal, are you?" "Normal is overrated," Lucy replied. "I'd rather be fearless." They said their goodbyes, and Vexthor returned to his ship. Lucy watched the Ravager's claw lift off and disappear into the stars. She was 9 years old, famous across the galaxy, and completely uncertain about her future. But she wasn't afraid. She had faced down pirates, stopped a war, and changed the balance of power in the galaxy. Whatever came next, she could handle it. The fearless human child had one more thing to do. She pulled out a small data chip, the only remaining copy of all her father's original research. Walking to a communications terminal, she began composing a message to the Oversight Committee investigating the Alliance conspiracy. "This is Lucy Chen," she typed. "I have additional information about the officers responsible for my parents' deaths. I think you'll find it interesting." She attached the files and hit send. Then she walked toward the residential district where a family friend had agreed to take her in. She had a future to build, an education to complete, and someday, justice to ensure. The galaxy had been saved by a fearless human child. But Lucy's story was just beginning, and the universe had no idea what she would accomplish next. Somewhere in the stars, adventures waited. And Lucy had never been one to keep them waiting long.